Hello my friends, new video today. This time we're going to be having a look into Aptos, which is a pretty new crypto project, and we're going to be talking about what this crypto project could bring for the future, how it works, and what the history behind the Aptos token actually means for its future. So first of all, in case you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this channel, since on this channel we are going to be talking about many different promising crypto projects that may as well do a huge price increase in the future. Either way, we're going to be talking about lots of exciting projects, not just crypto layer 1 projects, but also play to earn games, crypto gaming in general, and many more. Anyway, let's get into the video and into the Aptos coin in general. First of all, to understand Aptos, you should understand what's behind it and what you can usually get from its history. So first of all, this is the website which I just opened. I highly advise you to visit this as well. It's easily accessible if you just Google the Aptos Labs website. So they themselves claim to be committed to developing products and applications on the Aptos blockchain, which will then redefine the Web3 user experience. But what does that actually mean? So first of all, Aptos itself origins from Meta. If you haven't been in the history of Meta and their crypto development in the past, Aptos, also known as Aptos Labs, is basically some sort of Web3 startup which is focused on building a scalable layer 1 blockchain. And this may seem fishy at first if you think about it, since basically every shitty or shitcoin-ish layer 1 project is trying to do just that, building a scalable layer 1 blockchain. However, with Aptos it may actually be different. So why do I personally think that way? I briefly announced it earlier. This company was founded by developers who formerly worked on Diem, and Meta's blockchain initiative that was abandoned in January, actually. Basically, you could see as Aptos as the successor of said former project. So the idea behind Aptos is that it can actually redefine the crypto market by bundling the knowledge that has already been accumulated in this market. Since you pretty much already see lots of people getting into crypto and doing their projects and doing their research and stuff. However, you rarely see crypto developers who actually know in their in-depth stuff about the projects itself. So with them, you have the advantage that they've already worked on a very famous project that has already moved millions and even billions of dollars. Not sure if you've gotten into it yet, but Meta's blockchain or metaverse attempts have already consumed millions of dollars. And that's not a bad thing, it's rather a good thing, since obviously you need a lot of manpower and dedication to evolve something that can actually bring forward the entire crypto world as a whole. Since nowadays, crypto job projects themselves, they are not really limited. If you look 10 years into the past, there were just very few crypto projects around. Bitcoin, okay, cool, and a few others, but they didn't really bring that much to the table other than having this idea that crypto in general brings forward. But they weren't really, from a technical point of view, that insightful or that well made. They were the beginning, they were the foundation, but that's about it. And nowadays, we see many projects like this that are just coming from the earth, but they lack depth and they lack the experience that would actually be needed in order to create a crypto project or a layer 1 project that can actually be a threat to current high rollers, to current layer 1 blockchains in order to make something that's truly scalable and actually can handle mass transactions. So that's it for the introduction. Hope you guys enjoyed this part so far. Now we're going to be going into the key features that Aptos is going to promise us for the future. So I'll just open the next site here. Hopefully it works. Perfect. So let's see if I can go back in here. Okay, wait, one sec. Luckily, I opened another site. I don't know, somehow my browser didn't want me to show this. So, first of all, the team behind this is actually very transparent, and you can see who is going to be working on said crypto project. It's not just about people who are in the background and doing all this, and you may just see a name and an online avatar that's not really transparent all about it. But in reality, you see faces, and it's actually people who've been in the market for quite a while. So, what I perfectly see and what I can think for it myself is the advantage that these guys have experience in the blockchain market. So, when you've been into this crypto project and into lots of different crypto projects in general, then you've maybe seen that most of these projects can't really do that many transactions, right? If you, for example, take Ethereum or Bitcoin even, then you'll see when you do transactions during very high processing times, then you have to pay a lot of money in gas fees. I personally remember paying pretty much, I think it was $25 or $30 for one single transaction on Ethereum in the end of 2021. Yeah, it should be November 2021, around that time. And it was, back in the day, it was normal to pay such high amounts for gas fees, since there were plenty of people hyping these projects up and investing into certain projects. So it was normal to pay lots of money in gas fees too, right? But obviously, it's not really sustainable when you have to pay a lot of money for gas fees, since the blockchain itself is congested and many people try to get their transactions through. So the price is skyrocketing is just pretty much the illness, the sickness that you get from it, and that's nothing that you really want long term. And Aptos actually features a huge advantage over all these other crypto projects that I've covered so far, and that is the idea to process well over 130,000 transactions, not per day, not per hour, but per second. And that's done using their parallel execution engine, which is the block STM, which then of course results in low transaction costs for you, the users, obviously, since the blockchain itself doesn't get congested easily. So what does this actually mean, and how does this work? How do they do this? Why don't other blockchains do this right now? So first of all, these transactions in general take a lot of power and parallel workload in order to make these transactions work, right? Like doing one transaction on the Ethereum blockchain takes up a lot of processing power, and thus needs to be optimized, or at least needs to be increased in performance. So Aptos itself does it a bit differently. So instead of just doing every single transaction one by one, they make it differently. Because if you do a transaction and it fails, for example, then it won't just hold up the entire blockchain, but all transactions will be processed simultaneously, and after they've been processed, they'll be validated. And the ones that failed are aborted and will be re-executed, obviously, while the others that succeeded are out of the equation right away. And that's pretty much a strategy in order to streamline the entire network's capacity, which will then result in having lots of transactions being done in a very, very short amount of time. Since, let's say let's take a good example. For example, you want to get some ice cream, right? Or you want to get into the cinema. If you want to get into the cinema and you didn't buy any tickets, then you have to queue up, right? Like, obviously. But the problem is at the prime time, where there's maybe a new movie, maybe the new Avatar movie, and you want to watch it, you didn't get any tickets, and there are plenty of people ahead of you, then you just have to wait until everyone is done with their order, obviously. And there's just this one guy or two guys who are selling the tickets, so you got to wait until the entire queue ahead of you is done, or maybe you pay your way up in order to get further up the queue, right? Like you could give your neighbor a couple dollars to let you through, right? That's possible as well. And if there's someone ahead of you who maybe doesn't have enough money to pay for the ticket, then that's obviously congesting the queue as well, right? Because everyone who's doing some interaction with the person who sells you the ticket is going to take up time, space, and it's going to slow things down. With Aptos, it's completely different, right? It's like everyone is able to order online. Everyone can do their order at the same time, and everything goes through. And then, of course, after it being processed, the ones that actually paid for the ticket will be validated, while the others, I don't know, maybe they didn't have enough money, for example, they'll have a chance to redo the process, right? So it's automatically re-executed, basically. And that's the advantage behind this, other than the other queue-ish typed blockchains, because in this case, you can actually handle a lot more transactions at once compared to the ones that we talked about before, obviously. So, what other advantage, so to say, other than being able to handle lots of transactions at once, does Aptos have? Because you may already have heard about other crypto projects who may have done this. So first of all, we talked about this before. These guys actually come from a very well-known firm, or have worked for them actually, which is Meta. So naturally, there's a lot more coming from it and a lot more movement involved, right? So I'm going to show you the token, and I'm going to show you the prices as well. This one is Euro and German, so I hope I can just set it to English for you guys to make it a bit more easy, perfect. So first of all, this isn't just some no-name coin, right? It's currently ranked 46, and it's actually valued at almost $1 billion market cap. And if you take the fully diluted market cap, it's even $7.5 billion. So it's not just some small market cap, high risk project. It's rather the opposite. Many people already know about this, so you may already have heard about this as well. However, the advantage about this is that the scalability may actually work easier since people already know about the project. It's much more likely for a project to succeed when there's already a huge base of people being interested in said projects and already expecting a lot of it. Because this way, the people behind the project can secure funding much more easy, since obviously there's a valuation behind the company and there's actually a huge fellowship behind all of this. And next, the actual viability of said features is going to be a lot more increased as well, since you have many more people and users who can actually test such features, and of course, they are obviously much more likely to work as well. So you don't just have these high promises that you may have heard already from other projects, but you also have the people behind it and the people being interested in it to make things work. So there are a lot more requirements met in this project than in many, many other projects. But next, I want to talk about some of the other options that actually are being enabled through Aptos, and that's pretty much DeFi projects, right? Because Aptos themselves have already declared that they'll be allowing DeFi projects being built on their blockchain. So in general, if there are many projects, DeFi projects being moved onto there, since they can handle transactions more easily, then obviously the usage of Aptos is going to increase as well, right? So more people moving to Aptos, meaning the Aptos project being more worth as a whole. Quite easy and makes absolute sense if you think about it. So in terms of funding, I don't think we're going to be running into a huge risk of this project running low on funds anytime soon. I did some research and I saw that in March 2022, Aptos received $200 million in funding from several venture capitalists. For example, I think Multicoin Capital and even Tiger Global were involved. So that's that. 200 million just being there for them to use and invest into their own project coming along for development. Then in July, also 2022, 150 million were following basically through another financing round. You may have heard about this since it pretty much was discussed in the news as well, because Sam Bankman-Fried, the big FTX guy, so to say, was involved in this as well. But there was also other ventures meant in here as well. But that's for another time to speak about. And last but not least, Binance Labs invested here as well. And even them basically not just thought about the idea of Aptos, but also spending money to bring this project forward actually is a huge sign that the Aptos project is currently working on a scalability that other crypto projects haven't yet reached or won't ever reach because they either lack manpower, funds, or the visibility through a certain community, right? So all these factors are already a given and a requirement basically when it comes to Aptos, while other crypto projects pretty much lack all these features. I've seen very promising small crypto projects who pretty much take a similar approach to Aptos. However, it's very unlikely for them to succeed because Aptos either does it better, has better funding, or has the visibility, or of course in the worst case has all of the above in comparison to the other promising crypto projects. So that's something to keep in mind as well when having this as your investment schedule. So don't really want to talk too much about the token price. That's something for another video. Today we're just going to be talking about the idea of Aptos and what it actually does, and when it's going to be launched and all those things as well. So Aptos Labs, of course, officially launched its mainnet Aptos Token on 12th of October, so that's already in the past. However, I personally like to not just have a look into a project, but I also like to distance myself off of these projects first and then see how they play out for the future. Since I think it's very important to get some distance, since all these crypto projects, of course, look very well on the first sight. However, having them on your watch list is a different story to putting your money into them right away. So that's something I advise you as well. Make sure to always do your own research. This, of course, is just for educational purposes. It has no financial meaning since I am no financial advisor. Next, obviously, is the Aptos Bridge. And the Aptos Bridge also went live on the 9th of October, I think. Yeah, pretty much 19th of October it must be. And that's basically a huge advantage for users, at least, because now you'll be able to move USDC, USDT, and of course Ethereum into Aptos from, let's say, Ethereum, Avalanche, Polygon, and so on and so forth. So that makes it a lot more easy to withdraw funds out of the Aptos system and, of course, inject it into the Aptos ecosystem as well. So obviously, that's something to keep in mind. However, you do have to think about the 3-day transfer window, since that's something that has been implemented first to keep the network stable. So that's something to keep in mind. It's not yet implemented to do this within seconds. It takes a couple days. So, last but not least, one thing I would like to talk about is the usage of the Aptos token. So whether you would invest into this as something for another video, keep this in mind. Make sure to subscribe in case you haven't already, to make sure to see this video as well, since it's likely not going to be online just yet. It's going to follow in a couple more days. And that's why would you even get this token? I mean, obviously, the Aptos project itself has its advantages. You've heard of them. It makes total sense. Okay, fine. However, why would you get the token itself? What does the token give you for having it in your pocket, for having it in your wallet? So, first of all, it's the fees. Fees will be charged on all transactions. We've formerly talked about the DeFi projects that will probably launch on Aptos in a very, very short amount of time. And they'll be doing lots of transactions. And all these transactions will incur fees. And they'll specify it, obviously, Aptos tokens. So that means that with every Aptos transaction, Aptos token will be spent. And that means if you've already bought Aptos token, you can use it for transactions. If you haven't, you need to buy it in order to do transactions. And if you personally want to invest into Aptos as a whole, because you think, oh, there are going to be lots of transactions done on this blockchain, then buying some token now to keep it on your wallet would totally make sense, since lots of transactions would actually spike the token price. So that's something to keep in mind. If you believe Aptos is going to be the next best thing, this is going to be bigger than Bitcoin itself, then it would make sense to buy some Aptos token just to keep it, since obviously the token price is going to be rising with more use cases of the Aptos token and more people using it, or using the network to be more precise. So, in addition, obviously, Aptos itself, as according to the white paper, I highly suggest to read through this as well. They pretty much do discuss most of these points that I've been talking about in here as well. They actually offer some sort of governance voting on upgrades to the protocol, and of course on and off chain processes. So it makes sense to get some in order to have some sort of influence on the future development. So that makes sense in that way as well. So obviously the last very important feature that comes along with buying Aptos token and actually holding it would be to stake it. Last time I checked, the staking APR was pretty much around the 7% mark. However, you do have to check it for yourself when you do it again, since I'm not quite sure how the rates have changed and how it's currently looking. That's something as well for another video, and of course for your own searchings, basically. So that's pretty much all that's been on my mind in regards to the Aptos token. I hope you guys enjoyed and could learn something new about the Aptos project in itself. As I said before, highly suggest having a look into the white paper. That's something that goes a little bit more in depth. I hope I could manage to explain most of their doings, at least. So I did try my best to make it as understandable as possible, even though it may not always be as understandable as I think it is. If so, let me know in the comments. I'll try to correct myself as good as possible. And that's pretty much going to be it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe. And that's always, let me know in the comments what you think of this project, and maybe drop some other projects that I should have a look into. Anyway, that's it. Goodbye.